You're listening to the Scare Feed, the place where real stories turn into real nightmares. Tonight's story is one of the most unnerving night drives I've ever heard, a drive that lasted an hour, but felt like a lifetime. So turn down the lights, settle in, and if you enjoy chilling true stories like this, make sure to hit subscribe, drop a like, and share your own terrifying experiences in the comments below. It was close to midnight when I left my friend's place, a little outside the city. The roads were almost empty, just a few trucks here and there, and the occasional pair of headlights sweeping by. I wasn't worried. I'd done this drive dozens of times before. The stretch of highway was familiar, quiet, and normally uneventful. But that night, it didn't stay uneventful for long. At first, it was subtle. I noticed headlights behind me, a pair that appeared in my rearview mirror about 10 minutes after I left. No big deal, right? It's just another car heading the same way. But after a while, I started realizing they weren't passing me. I was going a steady 60, sometimes 65. I even slowed down a bit to let them pass. But the car behind me slowed too. I sped up. They sped up. The glow of their headlights filled my car, making my mirror useless except for two blinding circles of light. I told myself I was overthinking it. Maybe they were just cautious. Maybe they didn't know the road well. But then I noticed. Every time I took a turn, they took it too. And every time I switched lanes, they followed. By the 20-minute mark, my stomach was knotted. That stretch of highway felt endless, black trees whipping by on both sides. No gas stations. No exits. Just me, and the car glued to my bumper. 30 minutes in, I got desperate. I thought about pulling over, but the idea of stopping and having them pull in right behind me. No, that wasn't an option. So I tried something else. There was a sharp bend in the road I knew well, one where you could easily lose sight of the car behind you if you timed it right. I sped up, tires whining as I hugged the curve, and for a few glorious seconds, the headlights disappeared. I held my breath. But as I rounded the bend and looked in the mirror, there they were again, closer than before. By now, my nerves were shot. I could feel the sweat on my palms making the steering wheel slick. And that's when I saw something that made it worse. The driver. When I glanced back in my side mirror, I realized their high beams weren't on. The headlights were just bright. Too bright. But I could see a shape inside. Someone sitting impossibly still, hands locked on the wheel, face turned toward me. They weren't driving casually. They were focused, locked in on me. 40 minutes. I couldn't keep this up much longer. My chest felt like it was caving in. And then, finally, I saw a turnoff. A dirt road, leading deeper into the woods. Not exactly a safe bet, but at that point, it was either that or keep letting this stranger toy with me. I yanked the wheel and flew down the dirt road, gravel spitting under my tires. My headlights bounced across the trees, and when I looked back, the car was gone. Just blackness. For the first time in almost an hour, I let myself breathe. I drove deeper into the woods, just to be safe, and killed my lights for a moment. Silence. Darkness. Nothing behind me. I thought I had lost them. But when I turned my lights back on, they were already there. The same car, blocking the dirt road ahead, parked sideways with its headlights blazing straight into me. I slammed the brakes so hard I nearly lost control. The beam from their headlights lit up my interior, white and harsh, making it impossible to see the driver's face. But I knew they were looking at me. We sat there like that for what felt like forever, just two cars idling in the middle of nowhere. And then, slowly, their engine roared. The car inched forward. I panicked. I threw mine into reverse, nearly skidding off the path as I backed up. When I hit the main road again, I didn't care about speed limits anymore. I floored it, praying I wouldn't crash. For a long stretch, the road was empty. No lights in my mirror. I thought, just maybe, they hadn't followed. But when I reached the city limits, nearly an hour after this whole thing started, I spotted them again. Not close this time. Just far enough back that their headlights looked like stars on the horizon. Watching, I pulled straight into a 24-hour gas station, parked under the brightest lights I could find, and ran inside. When I looked back through the glass door, my stomach dropped. The car had pulled in too, stopping just long enough for me to see it, before turning out of the lot and disappearing down the road. I never saw it again. I don't know who they were, or what they wanted. But that hour felt like the longest night of my life. And sometimes, when I'm driving home late at night, I still catch myself checking the mirror, waiting for those same headlights to appear again. That was tonight's terrifying true night drive story, and it's exactly the kind of nightmare fuel we serve here at the Scare Feed. If this story gave you chills, Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more true horror stories, and drop a comment below with your own night drive experiences. Who knows, your story could be the next one featured here. Until then, keep your eyes on the road and your mirrors closer. It was supposed to be a peaceful weekend. Just me, a tent, and the sound of the river rushing nearby. I had been camping for years, but usually with friends. This time, I wanted solitude. A break from the city, from work, from everything. So I picked a remote spot about a mile off the main trail, far enough from other campers to feel like I was truly alone. Or at least, I thought I was. The first day was uneventful. I set up camp, cooked over a small fire, and watched the sky turn orange and then fade into night. The air was crisp, and when the stars came out, they felt endless. By midnight, I was zipped inside my tent, wrapped in my sleeping bag, and drifting towards sleep. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. At first, I thought it might be an animal. But animals don't walk in steady, deliberate steps. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Each one slow, heavy, and getting closer. My body went rigid. I told myself it was probably another camper who wandered too far from the trail. But deep down, I knew better. No one came out this far at night. The footsteps stopped just outside my tent. I could hear breathing, ragged, heavy, like someone had been walking a long way. Then, a voice. Low, almost a whisper. Is someone in there? I didn't answer. My throat was too tight. The shadow of a figure moved across the thin tent fabric, blotting out the glow of the moon. They were standing less than a foot away from me. The zipper rattled. Slowly, like someone was testing it. I grabbed the only thing I had for protection, my camping knife, and held it against my chest. My pulse was hammering in my ears. After what felt like forever, the person finally let go of the zipper. I heard footsteps again, this time fading into the woods. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, I tried to laugh it off. Maybe it was just some drunk hiker. Maybe I imagined the whole thing. But when I stepped out of my tent, I froze. There were footprints in the dirt, clear as day. They circled my tent. Once, twice, 3 times. Someone had been pacing around me while I lay inside. That night, I thought about packing up and leaving. But stubbornness got the better of me. I told myself it was a one-time thing. Lightning doesn't strike twice. I was wrong. At around 2 in the morning, I woke to a sound I'll never forget. The zipper, being pulled, slowly, from the outside. I shot up, knife in hand, and shouted as loud as I could. Get the hell away from me. Silence. Then footsteps, running this time, crashing into the woods. I didn't chase. I just sat there, shaking, waiting for daylight. When the sun came up, I found something worse than the footprints. Hanging from a branch, right outside my tent, was a strip of fabric. Torn, old, dirty. It hadn't been there the day before. Someone had left it for me. I packed up and left that morning. I hiked back to the trail as fast as I could, constantly checking over my shoulder. When I finally reached the ranger station, I told them what happened. They didn't look surprised. The ranger sighed and said, "You camped by the river, didn't you? We've had reports, people seeing someone out there at night. A man who never speaks, just walks, watches, sometimes tries to get into tents." I asked if they ever caught him. The ranger just shook his head. "No, we never find anyone. Just footprints." To this day, I don't know who that man was. But every time I think back to those nights, I hear the sound that still makes my blood run cold. That zipper, slowly opening in the dark. The end.
It was close to 2 o'clock in the morning when I pulled into the gas station. The kind of hour when the roads are dead and the world feels like it belongs to shadows. I'd been driving for nearly 5 hours straight. My eyes burned, and my gas light had been blinking for the last 20 miles. So when I finally saw a glowing sign for a 24-hour station, I felt relief wash over me. But the second I pulled in, something felt wrong. The place looked old, like it hadn't been updated since the 90s. Only 2 of the overhead lights worked, buzzing faintly with that sickly yellow glow that makes everything feel off. The pumps looked worn, down, streaked with grime. Still, I told myself it was fine. I was exhausted and needed gas. I got out and started pumping. The lot was completely empty except for one car parked at the side of the building. No lights on inside. No one in the driver's seat. I tried not to pay attention. But as the numbers on the pump ticked up, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. When the tank was nearly full, I heard the sound of the glass door creak open. Out came the attendant. He was tall and thin, with a pale face that almost glowed in the fluorescent lights. His uniform was wrinkled and dirty, and he had this smile plastered across his face that didn't reach his eyes. "You're out late," he said, almost cheerfully. "Yeah," I muttered, trying to sound casual. "Long drive." He nodded but didn't move. Just stood there at the door, staring, still smiling. Something about his stillness made my skin crawl. I finished pumping and went inside to pay. The store was just as unsettling as the outside. Half the shelves were empty, and the fridges hummed loudly, their glass fogged over like they hadn't been opened in weeks. The man followed me to the counter, still wearing that same grin. "That'll be $32.17, he said. His voice was flat, almost rehearsed. I handed him the cash. He took it, but instead of putting it in the register, he just held it in his hand, eyes locked on mine. "You should wait a while before leaving," he said suddenly. I blinked. "Up, why?" He leaned in just a little. "It's safer." I let out a nervous laugh, trying to brush it off. "I think I'll be fine." "Thanks," but when I turned to leave, I felt his hand clamp down on my arm. Cold, firm, stronger than I expected. "You should stay." His voice was lower now, almost a growl. The smile had faded, replaced with a blank expression that made my stomach drop. I yanked my arm free and muttered, "No, I'm good." Then I walked quickly out the door, trying not to run. When I got to my car, I saw movement out of the corner of my eye. The car parked at the side of the building. The one that looked empty before now had someone sitting in the driver's seat. A shadowed figure. Facing me. My hand shook as I fumbled with my keys. I could feel both sets of eyes on me, the man at the counter and whoever was in that car. I got in, locked the doors, and started the engine. That's when I saw him again. The attendant was standing in the window, no smile this time, just staring at me with this dead, flat expression. I threw the car in reverse, ready to get the hell out of there. But before I could hit the road, headlights flared to life the car that had been sitting dark in the corner lot. It pulled forward slowly, blocking the only exit. My heart was racing so hard I thought I might pass out. I didn't know what else to do, so I slammed the horn and floored it toward the exit. The other car didn't move at first, but at the last second, it rolled just enough for me to squeeze by. As I sped off into the night, I glanced in the mirror. Both cars, the one blocking me, and another parked on the far side I hadn't noticed before, had their headlights on now. And they weren't moving, just pointing upward, like they were waiting. I drove another hour before stopping again, this time at a brightly lit truck stop filled with people. I didn't see those cars again. But the whole rest of the drive I couldn't shake the feeling that if I had listened to that attendant, if I had stayed inside a little longer, I might not have made it out of there at all. That was tonight's disturbing gas station story, and just one of the many reasons late-night stops can be far more dangerous than they seem. If this story gave you chills, you're in the right place. This is the Scare Feed, where true encounters and terrifying tales come alive. Make sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed this story. Drop a comment below to share your own creepy late-night experiences. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next terrifying upload. Until next time, stay alert, stay safe, and remember, sometimes the scariest things are hiding in plain sight.